Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us at our next Droplets of Wisdom. We've already been laughing because, well, let's just say we have a fun mix of people here this morning. But these are some just amazing event professionals that have gone live and done it well and successfully. And we wanted to talk through that. How did they get there? But first, let's introduce them. In case you don't know who I am, my name is Pearl Fulani, and I am the owner, lead designer, storyteller with Lady Jewel Events. I love telling stories through events. That's my thing, and it's a lot of fun. And I have a bit of a wicked, crazy mind, so when you have the opportunity to work with us. Next, we've got Jeremy, who has a bit of a split personality now because of our digital world. So Jeremy, tell the world a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Pearl. Thanks for having us today. This is really exciting. My name is Jeremy Jeremy Martirano with Karma Event Productions and Video Chat Game Shows. So Karma Event Productions was a live event production company that focused on social and corporate events. But since COVID, we've actually pivoted to the virtual world, and now we're doing webinars and live streaming, just everything you want. And then also we developed video chat game shows to be just a purely virtual, remote team building and family fun. That's what we are.
And for anyone, and thank you so much for being here. I've actually tested out the video chat game shows. It's so much fun. And Ray Rodriguez, who is the host, his co-host is just fantastic. So it's a lot of fun. Check them out. Next, we've got Robert with Ocotillo Music. Robert.
Thank you, Pearl, for having me on here. It's great to be able to talk with you. Ocotillo is a duo, my wife and I. We play cello, guitar, and mandolin, which you see back behind here. The mandolin you don't, I'm hiding it. We like playing live for events in front of people. Obviously, once COVID struck, we had to make some adjustments, and that's what we'll be talking about. Our music ranges from classical Bach and Beethoven up to current pop. We include Great American Songbook, the folk songs, Broadway movies, and some originals.
And again, I bring on people that I've had the opportunity to see their work or do something with them, whether it's live or virtual. And I have heard their music many live randomly because I'll go to an open house or do something like, oh, hey guys. But I've also gone to see their shows online, and they're just a lot of fun. And then we have the fabulous Brandy of Sweet I Do as well. And she's just fabulous. Not the other two guys aren't fabulous, but Brandy's one of my people. So, and I'm happy to have her on this morning.
Well, thank you so much. That was such a sweet introduction, and thank you for doing this. I think it's really, really important that we talk about how we can pivot and move into it. So my name is Brandy Blackford. I own Sweet I Do's, which is a wedding management company. Usually people reference that as Day of Coordination, but we all know we can't do that. And I also own the Arizona Online Wedding Show, which is a virtual wedding show that is helping people that are still planning and still wanting to move forward with their weddings, but to do it in a more intimate and to do it in a much more safe and convenient way of doing it without surrounding yourself by 3,000 people and fighting with parking. So that's what I'm doing.
Well, and as Brandy said, that's why we're having this conversation, right? So I have given them some pre-questions, but just to get some housekeeping out of the way right now we've got the amazing Stacy and Jerice on. If you have any questions, you should see kind of in the middle of your screen an Ask Question section. In that section, go ahead and put in any questions that you'd like us to answer during our time here, and we will answer them throughout the show. But like I said, I've got some questions, and we're going to jump right into it. And my first question, and I warned them, so they've already seen these questions. The first question is, why did you transition? And I told them they can't tell me it's only because of COVID. I said that I needed a filet mignon answer. So we'll start with Brandy, actually. Why did you transition to the online space?
So it did start because of COVID. I will be fully transparent there. But it wasn't because it wasn't because COVID was stopping us from gathering. It was because I wanted everybody to feel safe even after the fact. So even after we're allowed to have gatherings, there are still going to be people that are going to be a little conscious of going out into large crowds. And I wanted to still be able to continue to help people plan weddings. And personally, I get between 80 and 90% of my business from the wedding shows in person. I love setting up the big, beautiful booths. I love chatting with people and hearing their little 10-second story. And I didn't want to stop hearing those. But we weren't having those anymore. We weren't having in-person wedding shows anymore. And so I decided, well, I still need to be able to get leads. I still need to be able to sustain my business. And I know other people are in the same predicament that I'm in, that they would advertise at the wedding shows and they can't do it anymore. And then there were all the people, all the clients, all the prospective couples that were like, well, how are we supposed to do this? We just go to Google and do the first person that comes up and hope that they fit us? No, let's figure something else out. So brainstormed with my husband and we came up with doing it virtually, and our second one is coming up, and the first one was a huge success, and this one is on board to almost double the number of attendees. So we're really excited.
Which is really awesome. And for anyone who's wondering, it's a great show. I know Ocotillo Music is one of the vendors that is going to be there, and it's this coming next Sunday, September 13th. And we'll have that in our thank you email, the link to that if you're interested or want to share that with others. So Robert, tell me about, how did you do music in the virtual world?
Well, it was largely because of COVID, but we had also in the past done some virtual shows at Christmas, just for our friends across the country, to play some Christmas music, 30 minutes or so. And so we had dabbled in it before, and when COVID happened and all of our engagements were being pushed off to the fall or next year, we felt, well, we had two reasons. One, just to keep our technique up. We could just play here in our studio, but sometimes we need a little more motivation. Getting ready to do a show is a wonderful bit of motivation because, you know, you're working on specific music. And so that was one reason we turned to the virtual shows. The other was there was an awful lot of tension and discouragement around, and we just thought music was a good way to provide a relief to that. We tried to, you know, I think we've done 3 or 4 by now. We try to keep them upbeat. We do like we would do if we were doing an in-person house concert, which is different, obviously, when we're doing a wedding. At a wedding, we're in the background. At a house concert, people are looking at us, and we like to talk about the songs before we play them, give a little bit of background. And we've incorporated that into our virtual house concert instead of just playing straight through. We'll say, well, this song was blah, 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 and then we'll go into it. There's also that opportunity of doing it through Facebook Live, of seeing the comments from people who are watching, much like the chat box here, and being able to thank folks for tuning in, or to answer any questions. So there's a nice give and take, interpersonal relationships, interactivity with doing the virtual concert.
Which I've loved. I've been to almost all of your concerts online because, well, it's really easy to be able to jump on, and I just love listening to you play. I'm not gonna lie.
Thank you.
I do miss seeing people in real life, yes. But there's something to be said about the convenience of being able to do things in a virtual space that you wouldn't necessarily be able to do so quickly. You know, like an event like this, being able to bring it together so quickly and still have a great, successful time. And that's one of the things, is getting to hear your music, Robert, with you and Cindy, and being able to participate and enjoy that without having to leave my home. Yay me! It's been fantastic.
Yeah. And it also gives us the opportunity to play for people. I mean, we've had folks tune in from the East Coast, from the West Coast, everywhere in between.
Exactly, which is also great. So really quick, just a reminder for anyone who's jumped on recently, please feel free to chat with one another in the chat box. If you have any questions, you should see an Ask Question button in the middle of your screen. So please utilize that section to ask any questions for any one of our panelists, including myself. We'd love to hear from you. And now we are into Jeremy. Jeremy.
Thank you so much. So, Steve, can you guess what I'm going to start off with? Drum roll, please. Because COVID. I mean, just like, yeah, I mean, so as a Karma Event Productions, we were always a live event producer, and we've been approached over the years to do live streaming and online stuff, but we were always too busy with our live events, or, well, whatever they're. So, with COVID, it gave us the time to pivot. And that was really nice. And, I know you're looking for something more than just because COVID, but it is a survival thing. I mean, I think all of us are entrepreneurs. We're like just getting, antsy, just being at home doing nothing. We're control freaks. I think all of us are a little bit, So it's like we're out of control. We need something to do. So, and this is like you have to, survive. And I think that what separates us between a lot of other people is that some people were in the wait and see phase. They were like, I think this will all just blow over. Let's just hunker down and wait for it to all pass over. So we looked at it as, we needed to move this way to survive, but also even if this did blow over, we figured this would be a great pivot for us, a new avenue, for revenue and new business. And now we all know this is going to be around for a while. So this is definitely going to have longevity. And then, the video chat game shows, that was purely born of this whole COVID. Our wonderful friends over at M Catering approached us and said, hey, we want to do some sort of virtual game night karaoke to put in with our food, like our quarantine food packages or food deliveries. So I partnered up with Ray Rodriguez from 110 Entertainment. We developed this. He's been doing this for live events for a long time. And, it was just, a match made in heaven. And now we've just seen how far it can really go. It's really just exploded beyond that. So, but that's, so that was the question. Yeah, we've, I don't know. There is definitely some differences between people, when you think about why some people make the transition and some don't. And I think that it just comes down to that, this is why I think we're all industry leaders here.
Well, and that's funny enough you say that, because that's kind of the next question, which you answered when you were answering, why you even went online. Anything else you want to add to that? I'll open that up. Why make that transition? It has been rightly so difficult for a lot of people in that world to make that transition online, to be able to commit to it. I'm a technology junkie. Anyone who knows me well knows that. So for me, once I had my grieving process about the spring, I was like, oh, I actually like technology. This is completely up my alley. Let's figure out how we can make this work fabulously.
Yeah.
I have learned for others, this is nowhere near up their alley. So why you three? Why make that transition? I mean, you didn't have to. I mean, I know, Brandy, you said you talk about care and you caring about people, but you had to learn a lot to do that. So
I don't think that there was any other way that we could have accomplished this and succeeded. I saw a number of venues that were trying to do in-person open houses and trying to stay within the restrictions that the cities and the counties and the states are mandating, and it just didn't feel the same. They just weren't the same, and they weren't successful. But yet I keep my finger on the pulse of our wedding community as a whole, both as professionals and potential couples and clients. And the couples and clients were like, why are people not responding to us? Why aren't they embracing that we still want to plan a wedding? We need your guidance to work through this and work around this. And then I had the professionals who were doing the same thing. They were like, we still want to talk to couples, but we can't meet in person and we can't present. And how do we do this? And it was like, that's kind of what I do, is problem solve. So it was like, well, I got these problems and I got these problems, and here I am sitting at home. What can I do? And what am I missing? And then it was, well, let's go online. Let's see if it works. If it doesn't work, the most that I wasted was a couple $100 and a few hours of my time. That was the worst that was going to happen. And
I think, yeah. I think a lot of it is you have to do a little bit of trial and error, because I mean, for us that was particularly true. And I think with the wedding show, Brandy, you're making changes this time based on what you learned at the first one.
Yep.
But we went on, when we first went on, we just went, we have basic cable or basic internet through our cable company, and it wasn't enough. So we quickly learned we needed to upgrade our internet connection. Even with that, sometimes there seems to be a little bit of a bottleneck coming into Fountain Hills. So we still have a little bit of buffering now and again. We got a fancy new microphone instead of just using the mic on the phone, and we're learning very slowly how to use OBS, which Jeremy is a master of. So with each concert, because the wonderful thing about Facebook, of course, is it's recorded, and so you can go back and watch it. And yeah, some of it was just like, oh gosh, this is horrible. The technology is just not working. And so from that, we've learned and we've adjusted as we've gone. And yeah, if you're going to get into this, I think you have to be willing to do that.
Well, and I'm going to jump in here really quick because what Robert just said leads to really great to the next question, which is what resources, what research, what have you done to make this, and what are you still learning from? And I'll let Jeremy pick up from there.
Okay, sounds good. One other point that I did want to make before we get onto that was I did just want to say that, let's face it, some of us here, it was an easy transition for us to make. I think, it was logical for a lot of us. I do want to, our heart still goes out to all the venues and caterers and the people that can't transition to online or virtual. So, we really want to kind of support them as much as we can. But
absolutely.
Yeah, sorry. Didn't mean to break it down. But, as far as the resources that we used, a lot of it, there's a lot of YouTube. I mean, you can learn anything on YouTube, which is really cool. But no, we jumped into all the program academies, all the Zoom education that was offered. I actually went on and got certified in virtual event and meeting management through the Event Leadership Institute. And Pearl, you're in that right now. So that is a really good course. I mean, if anybody wants to learn about that, that really was a crash course in how to do everything online. As far as that, our support structure about everybody else online, it's good to have friends and, all of our Facebook groups that we're a part of to kind of bounce ideas off. We've formed a few masterminds, but, that's pretty much like, Robert was saying, a lot of trial and error too. So, all right, what about you guys?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Brandy, Robert, anything else you wanted to add to that?
I agree. It's definitely trial and error, and we learn from the first show. We learned certain things, and now we're implementing new stuff for this second show. And I'm sure we will learn more from this second show to implement for the show after that. But it definitely is. It isn't just something for the faint of heart. It isn't something for people that are just, it better be perfect the first time, because if it's not, I'm just going to do it. If you're gonna go online, you gotta be willing to make those mistakes and make it in front of everybody. But then pick yourself back up and be like, okay, what can I learn from this and how can I improve? And I'm just gonna keep going. So it's not only technology. I mean, yes, we had to buy a new computer and up our internet speed and pay for Zoom versus using the free one, and microphones and ring lights and oh yeah, I have to put on makeup today. But it's more than that. It's what's in your heart too. It's like, okay, you have to embrace this. You have to go for it.
I would absolutely agree. I was just joking before we jumped on. We did our dry run last week. It was a struggle, and I've used this platform now 3 or 4 times, and a whole bunch of stuff was happening. I'm like, I don't know how to help you. And so it was a great learning curve right there and then. But also on my end, I was having lag issues, all these fun things. So today, I have a new webcam, I have a ring light, I have new things because I learned from that last round of things. And I think my biggest takeaway that I will give to anyone who's watching this live now, and then of course the replay, is you have to be very flexible and willing to learn. If that's not where you are, if you're thinking this is just going to be very painful for you, you just have to be willing to learn and to fail spectacularly if necessary. But also know that there are a ton of people who are also on this journey with you. So do not be afraid to reach out. Here are 4 people right here. We are happy to chat with you and talk. Jeremy and I, we were chatting. That's how I found out about the ELI class, which I loved. But we started chatting because I was doing a quote for Robert, actually. I was like, dude, my whole life is like in a box right now. And so all of a sudden we're just talking, and we spent, I think, an hour and a half, not at all talking about why I contacted him, but what he had learned and what I had learned. And, you know, I've been on 40 different platforms over the last 4 months, unintentionally, by the way. It's just, I'm a curious person, and people have been going online, so I just started researching and jumping on and trying and demo. So there's a lot. That's how you learn. Robert, anything else before I go to the next question? And again, oh wait, sorry, Robert, I just saw someone else may have jumped on. If you have any questions from our amazing audience, please don't be shy. As you can tell, we like to talk, so feel free to put your questions in the ask question area. I'm going to keep on going down the list. Robert?
I don't have anything else going.
Checking in with us, Robert.
Just wanted to give you an opportunity. And I think both, you know, everyone said it, Robert to Brandy to Jeremy, you got to be also willing to invest in this. All of us, by the way, have invested, whether it's online resources, but physical resources. So I currently have 2 webcams at this point. I have 4 ring lights that I have tried out. I just ordered a new computer that I was hoping, but Brandy, as you can see, it did not arrive in time. I had to upgrade my internet as well. I'm like, Cox, what is the best you got? Give it to me. And to Robert's point, we still have legs, but you know, this is an upgrade and it's an investment. And it's Ray. I'm seeing Ray in the comments. He's saying Amazon knows me by my first name. Ray, I'm getting there.
Him by his first name.
Because I was like, I'm getting there. At this rate, it's like Cheers, where everyone knows my name. They're all gonna know my name very quickly. So I'm with you there, but it's definitely an investment. Because I think what Jeremy said is, for those who can, because there are some in our event professional world that can't, but for those who can, this virtual digital online space is not going anywhere. In fact, some hybrid of it is going to be part of what people offer moving forward. So it's worth getting that investment in. All right. So let's go into the helpful versus difficult. All right. So I see Jerry. It's a good thing I'm actually watching the chat, because I see Jerry's put a question in there. So what would you suggest be the top 2 or 3 items to purchase? So I'll throw it out to you guys. And for anyone who doesn't know the lovely Judy, she's MGK events, so she's an event planner here. So kind of keep that in mind as you're answering. What would you suggest? Top 2, 3 items for someone kind of just general, you know, like invest in this, this, and this just to get started.
Well, Jeremy's probably the electronic guru in this group, so I'm going to save him for a minute, and I'm just going to say for me, it was a ring light, because I can't count on natural light always being available when I need it to be available, and overhead light is just terrible. Like, it's just terrible. And you can get a fairly inexpensive one on, yes, Amazon. Don't tell my husband. You can get a fairly inexpensive one on Amazon. And then I would say, frankly, the next thing I would look at, if you don't have a great web camera on your computer, get a separate one. Because those 2 things, you have to be seen, and you have to be seen. And then I guess the last thing would be a microphone. I have not had good luck with finding off-computer microphones, and I've probably tried 7 or 8 now, so I just bought a new Mac instead. So that's what I would invest in. That's what I did invest in, aside from the subscriptions and things like that. Like, that's where I started, was with experimenting with microphones and lighting. Those are my things. We started with the microphone. We went with the blue USB. Looks like this. We have Macs. They have pretty good cameras, so we haven't worried too much about that. And then to try to get around some of the buffering, we did invest
not a very big investment in an Ethernet cable. So we stopped relying on the Wi-Fi. Although I am on Wi-Fi right now.
Oh, wow, looks
For
good.
the music we prefer.
It looks
using
really
the-
good.
Yeah.
the
Yeah, that's
Ethernet
surprising that you're on Wi-Fi and you're that good.
cable.
You look fabulous.
Yeah.
All right, Jerry.
So
Okay, so, I think.
Really quick, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Jerice and anyone else, again, if you could, it would be very helpful if you please put your questions in the Ask Question section and not in the chat, just so we don't miss your questions as they're coming in. It's just helpful for us, and it's also helpful for anyone in the future because I'm able to hit we're answering the question. They're able to go right to that section to hear the answers. So, and no worries, no need to apologize. That's why I'm here to help y'all out.
It's a learning curve, yes.
Exactly. I was like, we're all learning.
Well, I think
And I
everybody
have
else
really
pretty
good
much
peripheral
covers-
vision. So I'm like, oh, another question came in.
That's why I'm looking over here too. I think a lot of Robert and Brandy covered a lot of it. Obviously, it's the camera, microphone, and lighting. I mean, it's the standard for anything. You can get away with the lower end camera, even like $100. You can probably get away with what's ever built in as long as you have good lighting. And then sound is going to be your best way to get control of any Zoom meeting and to make sure your message is heard. So, a good microphone is going to be key there. I probably like what Robert said, that little, the Blue Yeti, right? The USB Blue Yeti one. That's a pretty good one. We already had all this production equipment. So I have a little mixer hooked up here. I'm going through a USB sound card. Of course, I've got the big microphone here on the boom, so we're getting fancy with it, but, but, you use what you have really. So, my first live stream was for the Mesa Chamber of Commerce, and we had really nice microphones. We had really nice lighting, but I had my little $100 Logitech webcam, so, and then, but it looked great. You don't really have to, you can just kind of pick your battles there. Then we started investing in all the other stuff, like the bigger cameras and the teleprompter and just all this other really, really cool stuff. So,
yeah, I just learned about a teleprompter that actually you can use on your screen. So I'm going to do some research and learn more about that instead of having a physical teleprompter. I know. I was very excited. Like, whoa,
You'll have to
mind
share.
blown.
yeah, there's some free websites that you can go to. If you just search free teleprompter software, it just plays in your browser, and then you can just read it off your browser. You can control the speed and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I've positioned my Word doc in such a perfect state that no one can tell I'm reading, and I just scroll because no one sees my fingers. So
And
I thought,
bonus, that white from the Word doc is a good front light.
it is.
You ever
Yeah, it
notice, like,
lights
you
you
see
up.
somebody's
right-
face go from dark, and all of a sudden it goes really bright, and then dark?
Yeah,
They were
They
checking.
changed screens.
Yeah.
yes. Well, and you heard it, and I'm with you. As far as things, I was actually, one of the very first things I did was I went to a digital summit in April, and one of the gentlemen I loved because he talked about how you can do video marketing, and he said, here's 3 things you need to invest in: a mic, a webcam, and a ring light. And those are exactly what he did, and he actually gave the ones that he used. And so I ordered the mic that he ordered, and I'll put that in the email so you'll have a specific mic you can try it on. I'm sorry, Brandy, about your sad stories with mics, but we're all good
It's
now.
okay.
Webcam and ring light, and at the time I could afford the mic, so that's where I started, because that was the difficulty for most people. They could see me for the most part, but they could not hear me worth anything. So that's where I started, and then Logotech started making a lot of money because everyone kept buying their webcams.
I bought mine at double
and now I
cost.
have my ring lights.
But there's some lighting tips. So you can actually use a natural light in your house. Like that window that you have over to your side there, Pearl. If you were sitting at the table facing that window, that would be perfect light. You don't want the light behind you.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of tutorials.
Right, no,
out
it would
there.
be.
Yeah.
And normally I do have it open just naturally when I'm doing like a Zoom calls. So to have that open, to have that natural light. But when I want to do recordings, I want to make sure you're focused on my face. And so that's why I honestly didn't want to completely redo my whole entire 24, 48 screens to turn it into my new table.
Oh, it looks great. It looks great. Yeah. So we actually have some
All
blog
right.
posts on our website that talks about the different things you can use. You don't have to have the fancy studio. I actually have like a $20 book light, LED book light that's clipped to my monitor. That's a good, ring, or it's like a substitute for a ring light. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, and the nice thing is a lot of these things you can be you can use what you have, or honestly, to invest, the cost isn't a lot. It's not like we're asking you to spend $500 for each one of these pieces. No, really for $250 you can get all three, and they'd be great.
Yeah.
Let's see, one more question.
Return stuff.
Yeah. We've been using stand lights. We've had up 4 stand lights around us whenever we're doing our virtuals. Although a ring light might be a good investment to make at some point.
Well, if people can see you, that's all that matters, right?
Yeah, it's some odd shadows. That's the downside to it.
Fair enough. All right. So another question from our audience before I go back to mine is, lastly, are there any suggestions to not having the ring light show up in your glasses? Which is actually a really great question. I usually wear my contacts in, but
Jeremy needs to probably answer that, or because I don't wear my glasses on calls.
That's actually the...
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm in my contacts right now.
That's the biggest downside to a ring light, is that you will get those circles. I mean, there's no way around that unless you don't wear glasses or just don't use a ring light. Music videos started out in the early mid 2000s where everybody's staring at the camera. They had the rings in their eyes. But I would say putting 2 lights, kind of at a 45-degree angle to you, that's probably the most ideal. Kind of 45 side, 45 up, that's kind of where lighting should be. And then, you get some side lighting, as well as front lighting. Also too, you can see I have a little like highlight back here. Well, that's actually just my overhead light, but backlighting is really important. So that way you don't look like a cutout on the screen, especially when you're using green screen. You guys have a lot of natural lighting around you. You look normal, but when you do use a green screen, you want to make sure that you have a lot more lighting. So.
Which is fantastic. Well, thank you so much for answering those questions. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the Ask Questions sections. We are excited to say it. And another question just popped up. So sorry for this, but I think something important to add is bandwidth. So it's not necessarily a question, but a statement. So do we want to talk really quickly about bandwidth and how that's helpful as well?
I think that's what both Brandy and we did was realize that we needed to have more, something more than what we had, and so we've upgraded our and you, Pearl, have all upgraded our
we upgraded at our office.
Connections.
Something to think about. Most broadband, Cox and all that will handle most of what you're doing, especially if you're just doing Zoom. It's more about your upload speed than your download speed.
Yeah.
So a lot of us have, 200, 300, megabits download, and you're like, yeah, I can download fast, but 5 upload. I had CenturyLink at our office for a little while, and we were getting like 6 megabits upload. And you can do a speed test. If you just go to Google and just type in speed test, you can actually see what your internet is and see if you're getting what you're paying for too. Cox will share in your neighborhood, so it is a shared internet. So you have to be wary of that, especially with everybody, working from home and schooling from home. Your whole neighborhood could take a hit. But really, you just need, we recommend about a 10 megabit upload speed to do a good video transmission for Zoom or a screen share, stuff like that. But, it's for residential, it's not that expensive to upgrade. So, and even if you do it temporarily, if you're doing anything online, we've actually recommended that, if we have remote speakers coming into an event, that, the organizer can pay the $50 to upgrade their internet for 1 month and then downgrade it. Just that way they make sure they get a good connection. So, but it is important.
And it's absolutely worth it. And the other thing that I would suggest, that though Robert is legitimately proving me wrong right now, being on Wi-Fi is being hard. Basically an Ethernet being plugged directly into your modem router so that you're not relying on your Wi-Fi, because that's the strongest signal you're going to get. It's directly from the source.
And 100-foot Ethernet cable on Amazon is only like $25.
Yeah.
So again, Amazon is our best friend.
Yeah. When we do our concerts, we're using Ethernet now. Cindy's in the house. She needs the rest of the house, so I'm back here, and it's a little too far to get to the router.
One other thing I was going to point in there about this is that, make sure that all your devices. So if you're on your computer, make sure that you've turned off Dropbox, because that's going to be, updating, uploading, and downloading in the background. You can have a lot of applications on your computer that could take your system resources down. So Zoom and other platforms, especially when you're screen sharing, use a ton of resources. So if you have Chrome open, that's a big resource hog. If you have Adobe or anything else, just be, kind of minimize what you're using, so you're really only saving all your resources for that application. And then also in the house too, make sure nobody else is streaming Roku or Netflix. If you're in here and I'm hardwired, but I still have no internet, it's because the rest of your house is using all your internet. So Cox, I think, has this wonderful app that you can actually pause all the other devices. One of our guys at our office, he does this with his kids when he's streaming. He just puts pause, and then all of the kids, all their internet gets shut down. So it's a good way to put them in timeout. But Brandy's like,
those are great suggestions. Just be careful. My roommate is working during this time, so it would not be advisable to shut everyone down.
But
I thought about it. I did not think about it.
We have a bunch of speaker tips. I have a whole PDF I could send out to you guys that talks about all this stuff. There's some really good resources out there.
Love it. Thank you for sharing. All right. So we've talked about, the next question I had was actually, how has transitioning online been helpful to your business? So I don't think we really covered the helpful, or at least been successful part. So we can talk about the good, or we can talk about the ugly first, because the next question is, how has transitioning online been difficult? So which one do you guys want to go with first? Do you want the ugly first or the good?
Always helps to get the bad news out of the way first.
All right, well, I'm hearing from the audience, ugly first. So let's start with the ugly. Go.
All right, well, I guess I'll start. Ugly for us, was the learning curve, the time it took to learn all this stuff, and the trial and error, and the money we had to spend. Honestly, this was, for us as a technology company, we had to make a much more substantial investment. I mean, a lot of money. And it was hard to do during the time right now when we're in conservation mode, because we haven't had a live event since March, and we've had a few virtual and now hybrid events. So it's starting to pick up, which is good. But that's the biggest thing. It's and paying for the education too. I mean, that was $700 or whatever it was. I mean, it's expensive. So you're making that investment, and you have to have faith in yourself. So that it's ugly, but it's good. I mean, it's really all a matter of perspective, honestly. So what about you guys?
The ugly for us, I suppose, is, there has been some outlay, not nearly what you all have had to do. But it's stuff that we, can use in other things besides our virtual. We, at this point, have not made any income from going on virtual. So that's a downside, because we're paying more to do it and making nothing from it. But we also see a long-term goodwill, and there, I don't know how you put a monetary value to that. It's been a good experiment. It's kept us busy. I see more upside than the downside, and eventually maybe we'll figure out a way to make a tip jar or something that works.
Mm-hmm. They have those. Those are good.
Yeah, virtual tip jars. So for me, the ugly has been convincing people that this is a viable alternative. A lot of people, a lot of professionals, they do things the way they've always done it, and that's the way they want it to be. And if they can't have it that way, then they're just going to wait it out. And I don't think we can afford to wait it out. I don't think we can. So for me, the ugly has been selling it. I don't make a ton of money off of the virtual wedding show. It basically pays for itself, and that's it. There hasn't been a profit yet, because I have to pay for everything up front. I had to pay for my Zoom thing up front. I had to pay for my website up front. Everything has to be paid for up front. So technically I'm still operating in the red on it. And it's convincing people. It's like, okay, this is the way to go. And couples are embracing it. Like, couples are excited about it. And then I feel like I'm dragging the professionals along behind me, and it just like, oh my goodness, for the people that jumped on first, I think that they are seeing a benefit from it. And I think it keeps us in practice. Like, now I'm going to go like to a positive, like it keeps us in practice. Like, it keeps being able to present and saying, hey, I'm embracing the technology because we get older, our couples stay the same age. So our couples are used to everything being technology based. So we've got to embrace it. So yeah, I think my negative, my downfall, my biggest, hardest one is convincing people to sign on. But oh my goodness, the positives.
Brandy, you bring up a really great point, and that's actually something I was thinking about too. It's all a new education now. We have to teach everybody, and we're working with a lot of fundraisers and corporate events, and people are just like, well, you're just doing a Zoom meeting. Why does it cost so much? Well, they don't realize that now that Zoom meeting is their digital venue, it's their AV crew, it's their MC host, it's their entertainment, it's their engagement team. I mean, there's so much that goes on to this, and also too the front end, the registration, the data, there's a lot of dots to connect on the back end.
There's a lot of admin work to put in virtual events, and
Stacy says time. Exactly. Yes.
You can do it for free for so long, but then at some point you're like, well, I gotta make some money.
but then they'll do one themselves, and then they'll go, oh my God, or I sat through a meeting with a potential client, and I was just giving them some advice. It's just a consultation. I was like, yeah, this is what we do. We connect all the dots. We do the registration. They just had a Zoom webinar, and we're doing it actually tomorrow. And during the meeting, I loved it. This is that moment that all vendors want to go, ooh, there's a lot more to think about than we thought, So, but it's true. And it's not to be mean or anything. It's just trying to, they don't know this. And, we had to educate the industry and the public about, what costs go into event production. And now we have to do it for this, So I think the standards have been really low as we came out of COVID. Right when COVID hit, everybody was just happy to be able to see their yoga instructor, to be able to see, just anything going on, to still meet with somebody. Mm-hmm. But now they realize these Zoom meetings, the audio garbage, and it's unruly mess. And now that they're like, okay, we need to get this better, we need to make it look better, we need to make the screens and just control this whole thing. And they're all zoomed out, right? I mean, we use Zoom, they're like the main thing, but it's any platform really. So you have to raise your bar, you have to make it better.
One of the things that Brandy said a few minutes ago is that the couples are more used to this sort of thing. I mean, certainly given the choice between walking through that wedding show at the convention center, that times I've done it, I just wanted to blow my brains out once I walked out, or sitting at home on your couch and going to a wedding show and meeting folks. That's an easy choice for me. But then the other thing is we will often consult with whenever we're doing weddings, we'll consult with our couples before the wedding to help them choose music. If some people know exactly what they want, most don't. And so we kind of get a feel for what kind of music they want, and then play them some snippets of some songs. And we have done that in person if they're willing to come to our home office. But it's a lot more convenient to do it this way. And we had not invested in microphones for that purpose, but because we were doing the virtual house concerts, that equipment is helping us to better serve our clients whenever we do work one-on-one with them.
Yeah, it's very true that, as far as good, I say for me, being a technology lover, it got everyone on my bus. Now I'm just waiting for everyone to be willing to go 100 miles, 150 miles faster, So now we're like, okay, we're on the bus. I just need to go the speed I was going at. I had to slow down for everyone, right? But that's the ugly, right? Is, as to Jeremy's point, is you are now educating a lot of people. Brandy and I are both planners, but I do more corporate events and more, outside of the wedding world. I do some weddings, but I do more corporate events. And so now it's educating a whole. So in that sense, I have people that are my age and much, much older. So it's educating that world of technology is not the, from the devil. And when you're doing an event, it's actually quite a useful tool in how you can utilize it. Just helped an organization, Ryan House, with their first virtual event went really well. And part of one of the resources that I gave them was connecting them with Jeremy. And so, because the question was, okay, it was very well produced. We had a great video, wonderful team that we work with who does the production, but how are we actually going to upload that content in such a way that it'll do well? And it's like, oh yeah, that's a great question. I was like, great, I have someone who can do that for you. And it's those things that people don't think about. And that's where we as planners and event professionals, we bring back, here's the value of what we are able to offer to you again. And so I think that's what we need to remember when we're doing events, is that we still offer so much value to everyone that's planning an event, whether it's in person, whether it's a hybrid. And for anyone who doesn't understand hybrid, it really is what it sounds like, which is a mix of a live versus a virtual event, and then a fully online event. Because there's so much. I jumped onto Zoom because it was the lowest hanging fruit. But as I just said, I've been on 40 platforms. I've learned about 15 more in the last 2 weeks. So there's so much, and that's just platforms. We haven't talked about, and we just talked about bandwidth, we just talked about technology. All of that is new language to a lot of people. So that's where we come in and say, let me help you go through all of that, so you're not stressing about that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
So anything else for how has this been helpful to your business? I know that, we're still working on monetizing it, but what else? Anything else from a business standpoint?
What's interesting on our point is because of video chat game shows, I think it's not to belittle anything that, the effects of COVID, but, to think about how people's lives have been changed and redirected. I think a lot of us were on a path and we said, this is going to be my thing forever now, until I retire. And then we just detour. And now I think at the end of it, we're all going to look back and think about this and go, hopefully, for the fingers crossed, that we all look at this back and go, it was better. Because I know that we've all, gotten to appreciate our families more, spend more time, a lot of personal growth. And then, being able to partner up with Ray Rodriguez to do this video chat game shows has been like the best thing in my life. It's been awesome. And, also too, the whole thing about it, it's interesting to think about a product, because now you can go online, you have a global market. When we were event production, we were just local. We traveled around here, but it was pretty much just here. Now we can do anything, anywhere, and it's opened up so many more doors. So it's just to think, it's a matter of perspective, is to think about things. That's how you kind of pivot and, kind of think differently. That's me.
Robert, Brandy, anything else to add? All right. No worries.
Jeremy's just so articulate. He says it all.
He covered everything you needed to say.
I tried to hold back, but
I do think
all
that
right.
I do think it's opened up my eyes a little bit to see who is willing to move forward and who would rather just sit and wait it out. It's interesting because there are people that I thought would fully embrace it that are like hanging back. So it's interesting, and I'm there are times I'm concerned about people, because I think that the isolation and the fear might be controlling them. So then it's like, okay, how can I, like, again, that helper in me, that servant in me is coming out and is like, okay, how can I fix this? How can I help? But it's been interesting to see who has tried to move forward and who is still learning new stuff and doing new things and experimenting and trying, and then everybody else who's kind of just sitting and waiting for it to open back up again.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I tried. No, I was going to say, that reminded me of a point that Robert talked about earlier, where he's like, we're doing these shows, we're doing them for free, we're not making any money yet. Of course, that'll change for you. You're like, what's the benefit out of this? The benefit is that you are still staying current. You're staying top of mind for people. We have so many DJ friends in the world. All my club friend DJs, they went straight to online. They're just DJing for free, but and just like you're playing music for free, but you're staying in the top of mind. You're staying current with people. So it's all about marketing and keeping your brand out there, keeping it alive. So it will pay off in dividends, after, because things are gonna change after this. Things are gonna thin out a little bit, but you'll still be here.
Yep.
Yes, though I will slight detour, Jimmy, when you said keeping alive, I will have to say that Staying Alive immediately popped into my head. So now I currently have that song running through my head. Yes, absolutely. There's my moment.
Sparkly white spandex suit.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Too much music in this head of mine.
Never.
But yes. But that's the truth, really. I mean, if I would say what's the one thing of doing this, you're showing your flexibility and your willingness to learn to your audience, right? Yes, you're staying on top of mind, but you're also showing your willingness and flexibility. As an event professional, that's huge, because now they know, hey, if something's going on, their wheels are gonna be turning and going, how can we make this work on behalf of our clients? Because you're literally showing that in your day-to-day practice of what you're doing. And so that would be my one big encouragement for someone to consider going online, is just show that you're willing to do that growth. And please hear, all four of us said it was not easy. We did not say it was easy. We didn't say we got it right the first, second, 50th time. And it wasn't necessarily that we all jumped in. I mean, you have to take your time sometimes to emotionally grieve, but we've been in, as I call it now, pre and post COVID, but we've been in this new system, this new world for a few months. So it's like, okay, what are you going to do if you really want to survive? And honestly, I think it's been extraordinary for the event world. Events haven't had to innovate in essence in a while, really, like massive innovation. And this just blew up the box for how you do events. All of a sudden you had to innovate.
I'm loving the live TV productions, America's Got Talent, all the sporting events, what they're doing to recreate the live event and having all the panels. It's cool. I mean, it's not ideal, but it's pretty awesome. And yeah, we're going to have a lot of new technologies out of this.
One of the things that's kind of interesting that's come out of this is Gig Masters, or I guess it comes with Bash, and Gig Salad are now offering the option of doing virtual events. So clients can, say we want this entertainment. We've actually gotten two requests that came in as looking for virtual events. It turns out they just clicked the wrong button. They really wanted somebody poolside at their wedding, and one was in Maine and one was in Virginia. So we didn't get those. But I mean, there is some adaptation out there. There are folks who are figuring out ways to bring virtual into a real event. I'm kind of excited about where the future is going on in that regard.
We have to be. Yes, it's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I really am excited now that I'm kind of in the deep end, as they say. Anyone who's read Blue Ocean, I feel like the whole event industry and hospitality industry, in one sense, kind of forced into the blue ocean out of the red ocean, meaning everyone's in the same space. You kind of do things the exact same way. And then now Blue Ocean, you're very free to be creative about how you're going to do things, because literally, as Jeremy pointed out, the whole world is now open to you. What was once a local business for all of us can now be a national and international and a worldwide business, which is mind-boggling when you think about just the sheer opportunity, if you're willing to embrace that.
Yep.
So that being said, we've got a few more minutes. So any last questions from the audience? Again, please feel free, or comments, please feel free to put that into the ask questions. I will give you my last question here is, what one piece of advice would you give to anyone that's thinking about transitioning online or going online if they haven't already?
Do it.
And we've got our Nike commercial right there.
Yeah.
But seriously, it's just, if you're thinking about it, if you have an idea, getting something done is better than perfect. You don't have to be perfect. We all make mistakes. We're all human. We all give grace to each other. We're all learning. So if you have an idea, do it. If you need somebody to bounce that idea off of, reach out to one of us. I mean, we're happy to tell you, yeah, we think it'll work, go for it. Or here's a potential obstacle. Do you have a workaround? But if you seriously are thinking about doing something, do it. If you're a caterer and because you can't do tastings anymore, maybe it's time to pull out that camera and do virtual cooking classes. Or show somebody how to plate, or show somebody how to set up a proper tablescape, because there is a proper way to do it.
Yes.
If you're a venue, start figuring out how to do virtual tours. I mean, there are literally endless possibilities. You're only limited by your imagination and your fear, so throw the fear out the door and let the imagination run wild.
I like do it as advice. What I would add to that is do it and be flexible, because you're going to have to change. It's the first time you do it, it's not going to be like the second time you do it.
Absolutely. So we've got just do it. We've got be flexible.
How about just relax, just calm, be calm. It's a lot of people are scared of this platform, and a lot of event planners and fundraisers and everybody, it's like, it all is the same process of planning a normal event. You're just changing the venue for the most part. I mean, there's obviously some other tweaks in there, but you can do that, and you have resources around you to help you, guide you along the way. But like Brandy was saying, just do it, because there's we work with a lot of fundraisers and galas and charities, and they're just like, we can't do it right, so we're just not going to do it, because it's not the old way. Like, but if you just do something and make some money, as long as you make your money back, then you've made your money. You've made some money. Or what are you going to do? The other option is nothing. There are no other options.
Forgotten about,
Yeah,
especially for the charities and the fundraisers and the galas. If you go a year without doing something, people aren't going to remember you next year when you come looking for sponsors and for donations. So do something, provide something for your membership this year.
And the cool thing is, if you're going virtual, especially for fundraisers and galas, you don't have to wait a year to do it. You could do it every couple months. You could do it every month, just make it small and change it. With virtual entertainment, you could just have some people come on, do something fun. You can stay on top of mind. And there's some other great websites out there called FunDuel, where you can do viral video challenges for fundraising. And there's some really cool things out there, and you partner it with other events. So just do it. I like it.
Embrace it. Embrace it, y'all.
Embrace it.
Yeah.
Embrace it.
We got just
two
do
hands.
It, be flexible, embrace it, relax, be calm, all very important words. Obviously, because I'm more on the creative side, I'm going to be that person that says dream big. Don't limit your mind on what you can do here, because it's a unique situation where you now have the opportunity to reach the world in a really cool and engaging way. So don't limit yourself. And by the way, this is what I'm telling myself. So it's not like I'm telling you something I'm not telling myself. These are what the voices in my head are agreeing on currently, which is fantastic that they're in agreement right now. Dream big, everyone. That's where I would leave you to be, because we have the opportunity to transform the world in an extraordinary way. So let's utilize it. Let's utilize it to do that. And let's have a great time having fun doing it as well. So thank you so much again to Jeremy and to Robert and to Brandy. I had a great time, and I think our audience did as well. It was a lot of fun. And of course, we just learned a lot from one another. For anyone who's still watching, anyone who signed up, we'll be sending out an email with the resources here by the end of the week at the very last. So some of the reasons talked about, whether it's even just ring lights and some of our favorite things, I'll be gathering them from our panelists here and putting that together in an email and sending that out. So you have that. You'll also have links if you want to chat with any one of us, because we're here. Really, we are about learning and growing. That was for me the impetus of doing what I call the droplets of wisdom. Was I need something to do. and I needed to learn how to play on all these platforms. So I thought, what are the questions I have in my head? And so this has been fun. And this one, of course, being that world was like, how are we going to do this, guys? What are we going to do? How are we going to come together? So that's the purpose, and that's the point, is really to just pass on that wisdom to you all, so that we all can be successful.
Thank you, Pearl, for having us.
Have a wonderful
It was a
Tuesday.
fantastic forum. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, thank you for participating. It was so much fun. Thank you, everyone. We are looking forward to it. And the next Droplets of Wisdom will hopefully be here in a month. And who knows what we'll be talking about then. Knowing me, it could be stuffed animals in movies.
Hey, the theaters are open. Do it.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. The theaters just reopened. So that was not a joke. I was like, oh, we got to talk about movies next. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks.
You too.
Bye.